Yeah, welcome again, man. Welcome again, and a happy Monday to each and everyone. No background viewing this time. This time I'm inside the studio, so good day to each and everyone. It's morning, not this morning, doing this record early in the AM. But again, I'm just going to summarize what happened over the weekend. For the reggaeboyz, nothing major happened. There's no movements in the transfer market as well. We're still waiting for some confirmation of players like Isaac Hayden, players like Mikel Antonio. You understand, the two major players that really want to see them get into a club at this time. But I'm just going to, as I said, summarize of what happened over the weekend. Look, it's only one more weekend of club football before we will change our course into international window, and they don't know the important games are coming up as well, Bermuda and Trinidad and Tobago. So most of the boys, I want to say, like, some of the boys, are getting, a little bit of game time there and there, but many players are out, many players are sitting on the bench, and, but still having quite a few players out there still consuming minutes, as the games goes by for their club as well. Look, one of our star player at this moment, is Demarai Gray. It seems like his farms has just flick a switch, since he joined up with, Birmingham City in the championship. But right after this, I will get into most of the boys, and it's like a quick run through of what happened over the weekend as well. Yeah, so one of the things that first thing I want to touch on is that the Gasperini did his first press conference of the new season, discussing how his team will look like, discussing the absence of the players that's in the Roma camp, and Leon Bailey is one of the names that popped up in the press conference. And if you look at the body language of Gasperini, you could see that he was asked about the Leon Bailey situation, and it was like the situation around how he got injured. He was like, even him at that point don't even know how Leon Bailey got injured. And listen to the Italian coach has to say around Leon Chippy Bailey injury.
Durzo, Gazzetta dello Sport.
Good morning, mister. Good morning.
I wanted to ask you two questions. The first one, it's been a bit of a strange and difficult week. On the one hand, Bailey's injury has upset everyone a bit. Well, it's incredible. We are truly sorry. An injury, also because of the size, the injury in a situation that is really difficult to explain. There is also a video of the injury. It's a shame, really a shame, because beyond the immediacy of the match, which I don't know how useful it could have been in the immediate future, but probably yes, but precisely because of the extent of the injury in a truly usual gesture.
Look, Gasperini, big up the Gasperini, that was his 600 game at the weekend in the Stadio Olimpico. Look at the atmosphere. That's the atmosphere I did want Leon Bailey to have his first game, but it's going to take for a while, for him to really get back, to fully fitness and to, to experience that atmosphere. I know it was the coach 600 game at Roma at the Stadio Olimpico. When you're talking about 600 games, for any manager in the Serie A, you have to go back to the likes of, Trapattoni, a legendary coach of Italian football. So, kudos, to Gasperini. But you could look at the body language and hear what, Gasperini was saying in that press, talking about the build-up of the game on the weekend versus Bologna, the aftermath. And it goes back to where I said, like, look, the Roma team, they have a few players in that squad as well, including, talisman in that camp, Paulo Dybala, that he just cannot stay fit. And he said, look, either he's going to start or is it that he's going to come off the bench? And he did came off the bench in that game and played some minutes as well. So when Leon Bailey come back, look, it will be rotation. It will be not many players will get long consistent run in the team as a starter, as it will be, Thursday, Sunday, Thursday. So this is just one of the few games that they will play on a Saturday. So I mean, they after a flyer, that's Leon Bailey team, AS Roma. But again, in the championship as well, Birmingham City beat Oxford United. That was Greg Lay versus Demarai in that game as well. Both players didn't really come across both each other in the game. But again, Demi seems like his farm is just taking a turn. Remember the disaster run that he had, for the last year or so for the national team, been getting the minutes in the Saudi Pro League, but he wasn't getting the numbers, he wasn't getting, the assists. We see him getting, assists on the table as well, helping his team as well. And look, I'm going to say this as well, like, Greg Lay, playing at left back for Oxford, been playing regularly. It's not like he's just playing regularly, but he's playing very well as well. Demarai Gray again, look, with the likes of Leon Bailey out, he's nowhere. He's going to be in the squad coming up. There will be a lot of pressure on Demarai, especially, the reggaeboyz fans will be looking for him to bring that farm, from Birmingham into Kingston, Jamaica as well, in the black, green and gold, especially in that game at home versus Trinidad and Tobago, to try to produce something out of nothing. He's going to be the top man, in that squad coming up, shortly, that the reggaeboyz will name. So I mean, look, I'm happy that Demi is getting games. I'm happy that he's getting on the end of like assists, and I'm happy he's in the mix of a lot of stuff for Birmingham City as well. So he's going to be a player that is going to be the player that we expect to lead us into glory days in the next two games, so we can finish the September window with 6 points as well. But I do think that Greg Lay is probably is playing very well as well. Two of our left back, one is playing left center half and one is playing at his usual position, Greg Lay, while Amari is playing at left center back, for Charlton Athletic in our back four as well. So I do think, look, if you could ask me, Greg Lay probably, if you, again, both players are not really up to the level of where I would love to see our wing backs and where other wing backs in this region is at this moment. But again, Greg Lay is not doing anything bad and he's not doing anything too spectacular, but he's just doing a very good, decent job at Oxford at the moment. But again, is way above the line of playing terrible or any bad performances. He's playing very well. But again, moving on to look, and also the Charlton Athletic was talking about Amari. I don't know what Charlton did to the goal over the weekend as well. They did everything but not to put the ball in the back of the net. But the Tyrese Campbell, I'm going to say this, that this was a player that really took League One football by the storm last season. I think he got like 7 goals in the campaign, but he's yet to really put down his feet in the championship. Many people saying that looking at comments in some Charlton Athletic content creators, when they post about they're talking about Tyrese Campbell, saying, look, maybe he's need to still to find his feet a little bit more into the championship, maybe still getting around and how to maneuver himself. But when he saw, I could see, look, I saw a little bit of a flash of what he can do, but I'm not seeing it consistently. He's getting the games, he's getting the opportunities, but then he's one of the names that get pulled off the pitch when they need to go in a different direction, in terms of bringing on wingers off the bench or any attacking players. But again, it's good to see that again, he's getting the minutes, but he's just not getting that end product, and he's not really finding that final touch in games. But Amari do look solid, and if you ask me if a Pinnock cannot turn up for the national team, look, maybe Amari going to have to change his position and play as a left center half and make it a right-footed combination at the back. And I'm looking at it at this moment, maybe Amari and Mason Holgate or Richard King is the best partnership at this moment to team up at the back. Let me know what you guys think about that as well. But Dixon, many people is saying that Dixon, is the team where he's playing for is suffering really bad, and that 2-0 loss at home would have really shocked them. It would have been devastated loss, to be honest. Look, a team that is battling the last couple of seasons in League 2 football in the relegation zone, Tranmere Rovers, and Dixon team is yet to get off the mark, with 3 points, but they managed to get a point, in their previous game before this game. But then again, you're thinking that this will be the game, and again, Dixon is. It seems like he's doing everything, trying to help his team as well. When I look at Dixon, XG is 0.72. That shows me that the player is getting, a little bit of sparks going. 3 shots out of the 7, he hit them on target as well. So, he create at least like 3 opportunities. And one thing though, you have to put in to details as well, that he had, over the 3 games that he played, the 2 games that he started and the first one he came on, he had, 117 touches in combined in the 3 games, and you only get dispossessed 3 times. That shows me that the player, is doing his thing. The player is taking care of the football, and you just cannot dispossess Dixon off the football. But then again, you want to see goals, you want to see assists, all these flares, all these tricks, and many people would say like, League 2 football, it's way below par. But then again, you have to look at the scenario of the situation where Dixon is at the moment. Where is the best place for him to go and improve, go and express himself, and to get minutes. Minutes are important. I care zero what Crawley Town want to do. Yes, I don't want to see Dixon get relegated from League 2 and have that on his CV, like a Ronaldo back-to-back relegation, like a Amari back-to-back relegation. But you would love to see the player and the team, progress up the table. But then again, the minutes and how Dixon can help his career at this moment is more important than where Crawley Town want to go. This is not his parent club. This is just a temporary move. But I do think this team will get it right. And if a team going to produce and create chances in front of goals, as what they've been doing over the last few games, I think they created over 10 chances over the last 2 games. It will happen eventually one of these games. So it's all about, to turn those created chances into goals as well. But Dixon is not bad, he's not playing bad. He's playing right up to where I want him to see and express himself, taking on players, be fearless, bringing the game to the opponent, creating chances for the teammate, try to get on the end of something. And I do think that if something need to improve on Dixon game, it will more be of shot taking. I think he need a technique, how to kick the ball in the back of him, and I think he needs to use up that left foot a little bit more. But again, as these games comes by, it's 24 teams in League 2. He will have around 46 games to play, or 46 games available to play in. Let's see how many of those games will Dixon automatically play in. But then again, minutes are more important at this time. And moving on,
away from home against Southampton with 10 men, how would you sum up your emotions after that one today?
Really delighted, delighted for the team, delighted for the supporters that come down, and obviously it was chocker there, so managed to get us through over the line in the end. I think it's a well done win, and yeah, it was just fantastic feels at the end of the day.
A player that expect to be in around the team shortly, Lewis Baker again, got on the score sheet, and the manager recalled this player, January gone, recall him from Blackburn, said he need him in the team. He did well for the manager. No, he started a new campaign, 4 games, 3 in the championship, 3 wins on top of the table. This shows you that this team have a very good manager. But then again, if you look at how Lewis Baker been play, he's been play like he's spearheading this midfield. Yes, he's spearheading this midfield, and how he's intelligent, know when to pass, know when to hit the ball, and his set piece are so crucial to this team as well. And the thing is, he's a player that don't want to spend too much time on the football. He keep the ball ticking over, move it quick through the spaces, get the ball in transition as quick as possible, get the ball quick in the transition to your most dangerous players, so they can get on the end of things. But again, couple of the goals I've seen, since this season and also of the end of last season under the same manager, Mark Robbins, he's getting himself into some situation, as you know, when Frank Lampard was in his prime playing for Chelsea, popped him up on the edge of the box, popped him up on the edge of the D, getting on some rebound. This is exactly what I'm seeing Lewis Baker have done over the last probably 6-7 months in his return back from loan. The loan that cut short from Blackburn Rovers. But then again, Stoke City, it's been a while. This team has been in the rock. This team has been on the rebuild for so many times. Now we're seeing a player that who they said look potentially will be coming soon, that is helping spearheading this team up towards the championship table. Right now they're on top of the league. Anything can happen in the championship. It's all about momentum, and 2 goals in 4 games. Now he scored and Southampton, a team that coming from the Premier League. He scored on Derby County the other day as well. So magnificent goal, and we saw him even last season. Score this long range shot, something of similar of what Wayne Rooney did on West Ham at Upton Park. So this player is an all-round midfielder, and I do think that look, this player will improve our midfield massively. Like what this player can do, is an all-round package. Look, he's not the best of defending in a 6. He's not the best of going powerful dribbling box to box as a 8, and he's not the most influential number 10 that you're going to create moments for his teammate. But what he does every little bit of something as a 6, in play as a little 8, in play as a little 10. So he can bring a combination of everything, and that experience what he have gathered over the last couple of years, including playing in the Turkish Super League as well. So moving on, looking at and again, his team even got red card, and look, when I was looking at that game and I was watching that game, I was like, they're going to be up for a battle. He stuck in and he tugged in and he fight and he encouraged, and he know what exactly was that task when his team was playing with 10 man. And the leadership skills, yes, his leadership skills, he's demonstrating exactly what he needs in that midfield. That's a player, if we can get this player as quick as possible, look, kudos, we will probably have a better midfield. And again, if we can get a Isaac Hayden to get a club and play in the minutes as all Lewis Baker are playing, look, we can have a proper shape in that midfield. It's all about getting the combination right. But again, Madasil started a game for the first time in a few games, but the situation around a Madasil of not getting so much minutes. Remember, I think he started in the first game. I think he scored in that game as well. But the manager did said he was suffering from from physical condition. It's not just fitness, but he was just suffering from some physical condition, and they brought him off and they assessed him and they taking him time with him, and now they reinstated him back into the team. But he got pulled out, I think just around the 30-minute mark, but because they got a red card and the manager made 2 substitutions in that first half, and he was one of them, and he got pulled. But his team won on the day, and they're going up the table as well. Big win for Stockport County. But then again, Madasil is not really in that situation. I wouldn't really classify him in that situation where he will be fighting for minutes. Look, when you come in for a League One team and millions of dollars in transfer fee, it's hard for a manager to sit you on the bench. It has to be a situation or some problem around the player of why him is on the bench for so long. But with the physical condition he was going through at that time, I think he's over that now and he's ready to play 90 minutes. But it just couldn't happen over the weekend because they got a red card as well. But again, Trivante Stewart, talking about millions of pounds in transfer fee, the 1.5 million euro transfer from the Serbian league to the Israel Premier League. Again, he got on the score sheet. Look, coming from the bench, his team, the first game in the league phase as well, 1-4-0. This is what you want to see. Look, when you have the main striker is getting the start in the first league game, and you coming off the bench, this is exactly what you need to do, and so you can bang on the door and to fight for a chance to get in that starting level. I do think he will get a lot of opportunity with the transfer fee that transfer fee, your transfer fee coming from previous club, if it's big enough, it will help you to get the minutes. But when you get the minutes, what you going to do with it as well? But a player like Trivante, he scored on the weekend as well in the first league game, and also scored in one of the conference games as well in the UEFA Conference League. So 4 games, I think, 2 goals, not bad enough. One in league, 1 in Europe. So let's see, it will only be what they do in the league, they try to get themselves back into Europe, and also what they're going to do in the cup as well. Again, I do think Trivante Stewart need, I think he need a recall. I think he need a next chance. I think, you have done everything, especially playing, so many games last season in Serbia, and 30 plus games as well. I think he has scored like 16 goals in Serbia as well. We don't have anyone, in the number 9 position who's putting up those numbers. And when you look at it, you have to give him a recall. You have to give him another chance to showcase what he can do in the black, green, and gold. And it will be, if Trivante Stewart don't get a recall, it will be devastated, for the player on his side. That what he needs to do to get back himself in the national team. I think the last time he played for the national team was in the stadium when we played Canada in that first leg of the Nations League. When he got double sub in that game. He came on for injured Mikel Antonio, and then he came back off the pitch again. So I don't know, man, but this time around the player do need another opportunity. I do think Trivante need another opportunity, but again, Ronaldo Cephas, it's not looking good. Not just the team result, but the player. I see the player got pulled out of a game. Not the game that they played over the weekend, but the game they played. I think it was a midweek game. He got pulled out, and I think he came off in that game around the 27 minutes. How or why Ronaldo Cephas will get pulled out of a game in the 27 minutes? Was it a niggling? Did he feel something? I don't know. Look, I was trying to get my hands on one of those reports of the game, and I did get my hands on the reports, but there's nothing around in that report says that Ronaldo Cephas was injured or he got pulled out of the game because he suffered a knock or something. I'm not sure, but when I look at the player stats, his stats are dry. Like, he came on in the last 15 minutes or so in the last game, and he offside 3 times. So I'm not sure, but the Ronaldo Cephas, his form has dipped, and he's struggling at this moment in Russia. Not just the team is struggling, but his form is struggling at this moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Ronaldo Cephas not in the national team coming up for this game. And if I was a coach, look, it would be a big decision to leave out Ronaldo Cephas. Look, they see that pace. When you see a player with that pace, even when he's not on form, you have to think twice at times. How you going to pick him in a squad? How you going to pick him to to get the best out of him, and to he can affect, make an impact in that squad in those games coming up as well. So it will be a big decision, and to pick Ronaldo Cephas. But again, if we don't get picked, I can understand that the player is not in any form at this moment. But that's it, man. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe look more again, catch me. Remember, JPL is back, so look out for some JPL video. Ciao, salute, people.